Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. On the Mr. Maple Show, we try to do cultivar highlights on Japanese maples, and we also try to go in and answer questions that people have constantly on their Japanese maples. One question we're getting this time of the season quite a bit is, what are those spots that are happening on my Japanese maples? You'll see this in some of the groups on Facebook. People will post this and say, what's causing the issues on my Japanese maple? And there's often a lot of different answers that people give. From you're watering the plant with overhead watering when it's too hot or late in the day, you should only water in the morning. That's one thing I often hear. Another thing is people say, hey, it may be frost. Well, this time of the season, you're not really getting frost. There may be some damage on some of the growth from the spring at first, but you would have already saw that. So those spots that you're seeing now aren't a result of a frost unless it was already there in the spring. The other thing that people often say is, hey, you're watering too much. And that could be the case, but that's not what's causing those little spots you're seeing on your Japanese maple during this time of the season. So what are we really seeing? Well, a few years ago, there was a lot of research done on the spotting that we're seeing across the United States on Japanese maples during the summer. And what we're really seeing is the results of leaf thrips hopping around on your Japanese maples in the spring and spreading a fungus around that can cause those little spots on your Japanese maples. Now, you're not seeing that until later in the season because those leaf thrips are laying eggs with that fungus, and basically it's allowing those leaf thrips to populate and grow. And so what we're seeing are bugs, and so it's really a bug issue that we're dealing with when you see those spots on your Japanese maples typically. There may be some different cases in Texas and extreme heats where watering the wrong time of the day may cause some sort of spotting to the foliage. But typically, we're dealing with leaf thrips. And this is a little bug that hops around in the early spring and then goes around and populates itself by laying eggs underneath the leaves, on the bottom side of the leaves, and then also transmitting that fungus around that will continue around so that those bugs that are hatching out underneath the leaf will have something to eat on. Now, how do I stop this from happening? Well, the good news is they attack typically more plants that are stressed or young plants that are trying to get established. So often, if you take away the stress and you have a plant that's finally getting established, you're going to start having a lot of issues with the leaf thrips in the first place. But if you're still having issues with those leaf thrips, what do I do? Well, that's a great question. The best thing you can do is in the early spring to mid-spring, when those leaf thrips are starting to hop around and laying eggs, you can actually give it a treatment of insecticide, of something like Spectracide or thrips by Spectracide. That is a safe chemical on the Japanese maples when applied correctly according to the label. We've used it from time to time here at Mr. Maple, and it does the job of taking out those leaf thrips. Now, when you're spraying chemicals, it's always a last resort, and it's always something that you got to think about because it does affect the other bugs in the area, the positive bugs like honeybees and things of that nature. So it's always a last resort, but if your plant is really getting damaged quite a bit by the leaf thrips, it's a great last resort to take care of them by treating them in the early spring. And that's early spring to mid-spring, right as those leaf thrips are really starting to populate and trying to jump around. And that will prevent your leaves from getting damaged later on in the summer. But I've got good news for you. These spots that you're seeing on a Japanese maple isn't your Japanese maple dying. They're not your Japanese maple on the way out, unless there's another stress that's causing that. What you're seeing here is a slight leaf damage, and that leaf damage won't affect the overall health of the plant. So there's some great positivity in this, and most of the time when left alone the following year, you won't get those leaf thrips attacking that plant again. Typically it's an environmental stress that it causes those leaf thrips to come in and start laying eggs on that plant because they say, hey, this plant is stressed out. It sounds like good lunch. It's like a dinner call for a lot of these leaf thrips. And if you can remove the stress from the plant and see, is this plant planted too deeply? Is this plant getting too much water or too little water? If you can address the stress that is there, check out our video on why is my Japanese maple dying. And we discuss a lot of issues that may cause the Japanese maple to really be stressed out. And if you can remove that stress, often it will stop that dinner bell for the leaf thrips, and the leaf thrips will leave your Japanese maple alone once your plant is established and doing well out there in the landscape and you've removed all those stresses. So I hope this video has really helped you understand what are those spots on my Japanese maple, how to address them, and get your Japanese maple thriving and doing well in your landscape and garden. If you like this video, make sure to share this with your gardening friends, because your gardening friends will also want to see this video. And that's a great way to support this channel. The other way to support this channel is by shopping on MrMaple.com. We're the guys who are out here with over 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples, and we have a mail order company that ships directly to you. And we do our best to try to help you have Japanese maples that have success and look beautiful in your garden and landscape. So really check us out. Take care, God bless, and have a great day.